Commissioner. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we don't want to keep you much longer than necessary at this point, but as it is in every summit, there must be an output of the summit. And we start with that output from day one. And before I do a quick wrap-up in 2 minutes, what we'll ordinarily do is that each of the breakout sessions, we would ask the rapporteur of those sessions or the moderators of those sessions to come and give us highlights of what came out of their session in 2 minutes. Maximum would allow anybody here will be 5 minutes for that report from the breakout groups. Because we have advised each of the groups, we don't want anything more than half a page or 1 page of highlights of what happened in the group. And without much ado, I'll be inviting the health group. The health group was moderated by our Director Legal in the ministry, and that's Mrs. Olubumi Obadon. So from wherever Mrs. Obadon is, we want to know whether she will be the person doing the summary for your group, or you have appointed someone. So can somebody assist us with microphone? Thank you very much. You'll be speaking on behalf of the group. Good.
Good evening, everyone. I'm standing on the existing protocol. I'll be presenting for the health group. Dr. Babadoye presented strengthening the human, animal, and environment infrastructure in Lagos State. So basically, he highlighted the issues regarding climate change that we all know. Lagos is overpopulated already, and this has an adverse effect on the health of humans. Then he also stated that the issue of sea level rise, waste disposal, high population density, and also the effects of air pollution. He mentioned that 30% of energy, pollution comes from the energy sector. Then he said 43% of lung diseases happen to Lagosians every year. Then he also said that 25% of people die from health-related diseases, like heart-related diseases. So what is the way forward regarding this? He said the way forward is One Health. And what is One Health? One Health is the integration of man, animal health in a shared environment. The health of man is directly related to the environment. And we need a multi-sectoral approach that describes interconnection between human, animal, health, and the environment. So basically, when we encroach on natural habitat of animals and plants, it exposes us to these diseases that these animals carry. So what is the way forward? We need to develop policy by working together with the Ministry of Lands, the Ministry of Agric, in order to curb the effect of climate change on health. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That group focused on strengthening human, animal, and environmental infrastructure under the health thematic. So thank you very much. I hope the group will be submitting what you just read to us, to the rapporteurs, to the Secretariat for compilation. The other group was the food security group. The next group worked on food security, agriculture, and climate change vulnerability. The group was chaired by Dr. Ayo T.H.E.M.E. Dr. Teller, are you in the room? Will you be doing the presentation or somebody else from the group? Thank you very much. If you feel more comfortable to sit, because I see you have a laptop, please do. Okay, or you better use the podium.
Thank you very much. The topic is sustainable food security in the 21st century, economy and climate change vulnerability. The case of Lagos State. The presenters or discussants are Professor Kitola and Emmanuel Ensho. We noted the following challenges. Food security has declined due to climate change. Warm sea water encourages migration of fish to other locations. What is the implication? Starvation and death. Vulnerability. While Lagos State is vulnerable to food security, these are the reasons. 1, coastline of water, 180 kilometers. 2, topography below 50 meters. 3, high population density. 4, high state of industrialization. And high pressure on land for non-agricultural purposes. For sustainable food security, we need to have the following. 1, availability, food must be available. 2, access, not only available, but you need to have access to it. 3, sufficiency, and of course, sustainability. What is the way forward on blue economy? Food security is actually premised on blue economy, resources available in the waters, in the ocean. Advantages for economic growth, job creation, good health, women empowerment, and what are the disadvantages of blue economy? Or food security, rather, food insecurity. Lack of detailed ocean knowledge and lack of preservation. We realize that in the blue ocean, we have low ocean knowledge. And of course, some of the harvested food from the ocean, they get spoiled before they get to the marketplace. If you look at value chain of agriculture, as far as food is concerned, from the point they are harvested up to the point they get to be table, to be consumed, we realize that preservation is a key problem. Most of them get rotten right from the point they were caught, and they do not get to the market. This makes the food farmers highly impoverished. What is the solution? We had to hang this on this solution. We need to transit from green-based economy to blue-based economy. Thank you very much. Have I spoken? Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Ayo. Of course, food security is one of the main anchors on which whatever we're doing about adaptability to climate change, we must take seriously. So we thank that group for their recommendations, and I hope, Dr. Taylor, we will be getting a copy of what you just read to us this evening. Thank you very much. The next group is worked on waste management and waste management infrastructure for adaptation. And Mr. Maximus Ugoke, the city lead for C40, is in moderated that group. And he's, okay, someone else will be presenting. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. I stand on all existing protocols. My group work on climate change and municipal solid waste management, perspective of solid waste handling in coastal communities and slum. We have two discussants, Mr. T.H.E.M.E, President of AWAM, and Dr. Femi. Basically, we review the challenges of waste collection in slums and realize that we have abject poverty, flood, irregular collection, poor infrastructure, inadequate, and poverty. All these affected waste collection in slum. We also reflected that our general knowledge on waste management attitude and our practices affects waste management and collection in slum. After a series of discussion, we conclude that finally concluded that there is absolute need for attitudinal change and behavioral change, because we realize that there is no difference in waste coming from informal sector and waste coming from formal sector. That is, people living in Ajegunle, if you snap the waste in their drainages, and also if you snap their drainages and you snap the drainages of people living in VI, they have the same composition. And that made us to conclude that we all need attitudinal change and behavioral change. Secondly, there should be more funding of waste management, and it should be reflected in the budget of MOE next year. That is the only way we can actually see that the government is serious about tackling waste management, not just by tackling it with forum and discussions alone. We also acknowledge that there is need for slum uplift, and there is also need to give appropriate subsidy to operators that are actually accepted to manage waste coming out of slums and coastal areas. On a final note, we also concluded that there should be a shift from making reduce, reuse. Before in the ladder we have reduce to be the least, but now we are emphasizing on the need for circular economy, whereby reduce will come first and all others will follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Waste Management Group. Clearly, the focus on waste management, particularly in our low-lying Lagos State, has to do with the fact that if we do not do something about waste management, the waste itself will eat us up. It is becoming clearer and clearer that a lot of the problems we have with respect to our drainages, flooding issues, contribution to greenhouse gases comes from waste management. So what the group is telling us about a need for attitudinal and behavioral change is very, very important. And part of it is the fact that what they mean, and I'm sure that that's what they mean, is that the way we handle our waste today is not sustainable, that some changes have got to happen with respect to that. All of this will be captured in the summit summaries, and we would be able to recommend to government appropriate strategies to put together towards improved waste management for Lagos in coastal communities and as well as in slums. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite the Greening Lagos group, the group that looked at the built environment and climate change. That group was focused on last park, but we expected that they must have gone outside of last park and did more for us. So you'll be talking on behalf of the group, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I stand on the existing protocol. I'm representing Greening Lagos. Some salient points were raised by the group, and we also discussed recommendations. Part of it was that trees currently being planted are too young, and that we need to raise trees in a nursery before they are planted. We also discussed about the master plan, that we should have a plan, we should have a vision, and we should also plan on executing this vision. And part of the plan is that we should have stakeholders' involvement, because it was noticed that we have very limited provision for planting spaces in road networks. And wetlands are also being violated and must be adequately protected. And we also talked about stakeholders' involvement. This involves the Lagos State physical planning, and also so that when people are coming for approvals, they need to inculcate greening as part of the approval, as part of the plan. And then we also talked about wetland preservation, and some recommendations were made, and that is incentives for planting. That people should be given incentives for planting, and we should build botanical gardens in schools. Enforce 30% greening area. When we are discussing with stakeholders, we should make sure that they have plans to have greening as part of their building plan. Thank you.
Please, let's give a better round of applause for assisting us to summarize what transpired in the group that is talking about greening Lagos. Clearly, we have sufficient reasons why what came from, what LASPAC is doing today to the state is extremely powerful and extremely useful. We're beginning to see, data from various studies are beginning to show that because of the greening program that the state government has embarked on, when we compared reportage in hospitals compared to what it used to be, things seem to be improving with the greening that we have. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the time is fast spent. We've had the 4 groups. We thank them very much for hard work and for what they did. Please, can you help us give a round of applause to the 4 groups? Thank you so very much. And overall, in closing, we want to thank everybody for coming. I think today we have had a very valuable interactive session, quite interactive. We had, from the beginning, His Excellency, our governor, putting us to speed with the launching of the Climate Action Plan for the state, and reminding us that this was the first state in Nigeria that was putting together such a document outlining strategies for climate action in the state. And indeed, it might even appear that although there is a national policy for climate change at the federal level, but the federal level may need to learn 1 or 2 things from what the state government is doing with respect to climate action planning. And then we heard from the works and infrastructure, together with transport ministries, who showed us what we are losing by not taking seriously issues of infrastructure management and the way we are putting up our structures, and also what the state government, the roadmap the state government has with respect to transportation in the state that will make the state more resilient and more sustainable. Then, of course, we then went into how we are beginning to build a smart city in Lagos. it is inevitable that with the increasing population in Lagos, the population in Lagos continues to increase almost on a daily basis, it is now inevitable that we must start thinking of a smart city. We must start thinking of using science and technology to improve life and livelihoods in Lagos. And this is